and export. Oh, hey folks, perfect timing. I just finished editing The Beacon, the short film that we shot in collaboration with G4, based off of the 4-part build series we did of Adam building and constructing from scratch the 2 spacesuits that you saw in the short film. Now this is a very special behind the scenes because it is a behind the scenes of our own narrative film. Usually we do behind the scenes of major motion pictures, large films, but we are obsessed with filmmaking, the filmmaking process, and we just jumped at the opportunity to make something of our own, make a narrative piece of our own. It was based off of a loose idea Adam had that we then took and ran with the team, germinated, brainstormed, figuring out what we wanted to do there, and eventually ended up with a shootable script, or storyboard rather, that we took and shot. And I wanted to cover that stage going from pre-production to production to post-production. Now Norm did a fantastic production day behind the scenes. If you haven't watched that, check the link below, watch that. If you haven't seen The Beacon, watch that as well. It's about 3.5 minutes, and then come back here and check this out because I'll be going through the entire process. Now, I wanted to start with, again, the pre-production stage. This was based just a loose idea that we had based off some imagery that Adam threw out and reference images. Now, reference images, storyboards, all the stuff I'm about to talk about are very important to communicating certain ideas, especially when you have a team. Now, we're a small team, so it was easy enough, but we still need to get the idea and the point across to not only ourselves, but to other folks involved. And so we took a lot of reference images of things like Alien and just people walking on space. I use ShotDeck. It's a website where you can look at reference stills from other movies based off of just a couple keywords. Spaceman, walking, exploration, and that stuff brings up stills that I can then grab. And we took all those images. We took a lot of photos with Norm took a lot of photos of the suit. I did some video reference imagery. We took that, saw what we liked from the suit, how it was posed, the compositions we liked, and we took that all and created some boards. I glued all that stuff to whiteboards to give everyone an idea of the look we were going for. From then, we needed to have a story or a script. Now, we weren't going to have dialogue. We weren't going to have a lot of, it was just more of a showcase, of a fashion piece, so to speak, of the suits with a cinematic backdrop, a narrative backdrop that was happening while we're showing off the suits. And so we really needed to know how scenes and shots were going to move, not only for ourselves, but for the shooting day to make sure that we were not too ambitious, which we were, and we can get everything done in one day. And so I made some storyboards. And from there, I do what I typically do on short films that I work on, and that is make an animatic. I brought it into my editing system, and I cut that to music. I gave a little narration on how I think it should flow. And from there, I showed that to everybody, so we all had an idea of what we can do and what I was thinking. Since I would be shooting this whole thing and sort of editing and putting it together, I needed to get everyone on board with what my idea was. At this point, Adam will gesture to Kevin that he's got a lead on the signal, and they start walking. So we pull out, and this is where we get our establishing shots, we get our suit shots. We see them walking. We see that they have arrived in a world that is just full of decay. This will be your kind of wide-sprawling alien-style shots, just 2 astronauts, on this large landscape. From there, we needed locations. We're in the San Francisco Bay Area. There's not a whole lot of locations that we can use that would service exactly what we needed. So we looked down to Los Angeles, 6 hours down south. There is plenty of sound stages, plenty of stages that we can rent. And Los Angeles is known to have facilities that have multiple stages within one building. So you would have warehouses where you would rent out multiple stages in that place so you can do different locations at the same spot and not have to do what's called a company move and take the crew, take the gear, and spend time moving that to a different location. You can do everything there. And Fawn Davis at Fonco Studios has exactly that. He has not only a working facility where they do a lot of their own maker stuff, their own prop building, costuming, but they also have sound stages within his facility. And so we chatted with him and talked about what we can do there. They have a great spaceship that's a little bit modular and can be modified. They have large warehouse space. They had a bar, which we used as home base, but also could be dressed up to be something specific if we do long lenses, make it more abstract, which is kind of what we're going for. So we locked that in, took the storyboards, took the animatics, took the reference images, and went down for the shoot. And then we grabbed some gear. We grabbed a cinema camera. This Canon C500 Mark II is what we use. It was a rental from Scott Sorensen, the DP of Mythbusters, along with Atlas anamorphic lenses, which I reached out to the company and got a test kit for this short. Anamorphics were a choice we decided to do based off of the films of the sci-fi films of the 70s and 80s where anamorphic was a big thing. So with the gear in hand, Fawn and his team helped us hire a small crew. grip a gaffer to go down there and all kind of crack this thing open and work on this for one day. I mean, we had 2 days there. We had what's called like a pre-rig day where it was the core team, myself, my grip and gaffer, and then Adam came as Adam was sort of the artistic director of this whole thing, and so he needed to walk through every stage and work with the set decorator to figure out how we were going to dress things up. Now, if you see in the short, everything's a little bit dirty. There's a lot of dust. There's cobwebs. All that stuff's very intentional. Fawn's shop it has these sound stages to do that too. They're all kind of clean. They have a static sort of look at the very beginning, and then you come in and sort of manipulate that and make that match your vision. And so Adam worked with them to get those cobwebs up, get that dust, get everything the right kind of grit. I worked with the grip and gaffer to pre-rig lights, get the sets kind of where they needed to be so that the cameras can get all in place. And then we had a laser and some haze. And we had a laser guy. You kind of have to have someone come in there to do that sort of gag. And smoke and haze was another thing. The smoke looked fantastic in photos. It adds so much texture. It kind of wraps around light and becomes its own volumetric thing around spacesuits. It wraps and curls around things. But in motion, it's a little bit different. In video, it's a little different because it's tricky. You have to have someone sort of dedicated, again, to gag that in, to help that activate at the right time so that's repeatable from every scene, but also to motivate it. You can't just have random smoke bursts. You have to sort of have it coming from someplace. And it also adds a lot of movement. When we're trying to do a piece that's sort of slow and atmospheric, smoke adds an intensity. It works for aliens when Ripley is running away from the alien queen. Smoke's coming through. It adds that movement. It adds that intensity. But for alien haze, as they're kind of walking through, is something more appropriate for what we were trying to do. So because of the amount of people that we had, because of what we were trying to do, we opted for haze most of the time. It adds or decreases the contrast, so to speak, of like the backgrounds. It helps light sort of bloom out and gives us like halation of light that really adds to that sci-fi look. Now haze was pretty easy. Again, you just have a couple people turn that thing on. I think all of us sort of took a hand at pressing on that thing and then just wafting that around and letting that sit. And you sort of monitor it, make sure it stays at the same level. It'll go down, you add some more haze, it gets too big, open the doors, throw it out. But it's a lot easier to deal with than smoke when it comes to wider shots or large frames or large scenes. So after pre-rig, after effects were kind of nailed down, the general blocking and the locations, we went back to the hotel. I created a shot list based off of the storyboards and based off of what we learned being on the pre-rig day. And the next day we had a whirlwind of a shooting day. I could barely remember it. We were moving at 11 the entire day. And again, watch Norm's video to see the sense of how that energy went, how the day went, what we were doing, how we moved through the entire day, because he does a great job documenting that process. But from there, it was not over. It was over for a lot of people. It was not over for me as the editor. I came back with a bunch of raw footage, and my next steps were to make this thing, give it life in other ways. The video element of it is just the beginning. This was all shot MOS, so if you watch the raw footage, you would hear me yelling a whole bunch of things. Oh, Adam, move over here. Action over there. We're getting lasers. Smoke. You're good to go. Let's get out of the ship. Action, Chris. Fantastic. There it is. Now, right, like unusable in terms of audio, and it needed to have sound design. You can't have a sci-fi film of exploration without any sound design whatsoever. And so the first step here was getting the right sounds, getting the sounds that the suits would make, the footsteps, the movement, the cloth, the beeps, the clicks, all the little things that just make up the blood of this piece. And so we went back to Adam's shop. I grabbed a microphone, grabbed a Zoom, and we shot a little Foley session of just me capturing noises while Adam made those noises. But we didn't have sound on location. We ran the whole thing MOS. It was all just scratch sound. You can hear us talking in the background. So we really need to make that atmosphere with sound.
Well, and I watched the rough cut and I was like, oh, I have to turn the sound off, because you're just like, okay, push the button.
Walk up there. All right, move your head. Yeah.
It's very unromantic. Oh, hey, one thing about that shot, can you pause for a second? One thing about that shot is I'd love it if we could hold it long enough so you actually see breath bloom on the thing and then we cut.
Yeah.
So again, that should probably be, we get at least one sound of me.
Yeah, we should have a good amount of you guys breathe in just to run through, and maybe some heightened, some areas of heightened breaths. Yeah, exactly.
Right, okay, so that's definitely a whole pass is just some breath.
Yeah, exactly.
that kind of, and like you choose the moment of like when it goes past our face is when it is the loudest, right? I feel like what we're going to end up getting today is more like a library rather than a live track.
Yeah,
I was sort of picturing us doing all this Foley against this, but I realize now there's a lot of piecemeal stuff, and you might grab some electronic sounds from sound libraries too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking of Jim Cameron when I put the strobes on there, because he's really good at using flashing lights for calm scenes that become not calm. And then all of a sudden there's like a swinging light while Virgil Brigman is fighting with Michael Biehn.
Yeah, the gaffer was like, hey, should I cover that exit sign? I was like, no, I like it. And
the shot came up and I'm like, that's an exit sign. Actually, I thought it was a light that looked like an exit sign. The boot zone bore fruit. So lift them. That's my first pair of moon boots, and I literally cast some boots into silicone, silicone in that.
That's some weight.
These I've been saving forever. They're prison boots from space, from Face Off, but they're also in Aliens. And then I have these fire boots, which are just...
Yeah.
I mean, they sound heavy, right?
Yeah. And there is a little bit of yeah, it sounds like you're being pushed to the ground with a lot more weight than you are. Which
That's great. Let's walk around. We've got carpet.
All right, cool.
Oh, wait.
I like that, a few of those. Oh, wow. All right.
I may need Applebox help with this, Norm.
Set.
Okay, here we go. This is adding of bearings to the breathing sounds.
Great.
That is so clearly a lamp.
All right. I think we're good.
Now, just picturing Stanley Kubrick, because apparently Bowman's breathing is Kubrick himself in the helmet, just recording his breathing. Right? It's like the greatest director cameo ever. All right.
I feel good. We have a nice, this is a great bass sound bed, and I could just build on top of it and layer in and augment everything else, and then we can go from there.
Awesome.
Now, after that wasn't quite enough. That gave us some good suit noises as a bass, but I really needed to start layering it with much, much more sound. I used sound libraries. I purchased a couple sound libraries and just started going through the piece, essentially just running through it, adding more sounds, listening to it, layering more sounds. There's little things that just populated the entire sensory overload and just gave noises so that this world would feel as real as we were trying to portray it on screen. Again, no audio whatsoever, so the entire sound library had to be built out by me in post-production, which was harder than probably most things I've done regarding this film. Having a close connection with Adam and the team to get their feedback and sort of hear what they have to say about it, coming back and sitting there and just adding more. Again, layering, adding more until it came to a spot I was happy with. I added a little bit of music. I found some piano libraries. I grabbed my piano, I added a couple little tunes to kind of creep it up a bit at the right times. And from there, we exported it out and shot it off to the internet for you guys to watch. This was an insanely fun thing to do. Again, we are film obsessed, filmmaking obsessed. And so being able to take something that we built months and months and months of hard work, especially for Adam, and being able to pay it off in something that we enjoy and that we're proud of was incredibly rewarding and makes doing this stuff just awesome. And this is all thanks to you guys for watching us all of these years. And this is all thanks to your guys' support, or else we couldn't have done this. So I hope you guys enjoyed this behind the scenes video. I hope you guys have had a good year, and I hope to see you guys next year when we hopefully do a lot more stuff like this. Until then, bye.